Oh, the baby's here too. Miracle baby. The baby and the grandma and the godmother in. Yeah. Praise God.
Oh, he's a miracle. The miracle baby. Oh, he's so precious.
This is Jacob Carl. He was born on February 7th.
Grandma, come and hold me.
My name's Lisa Gnade, and I've been here a few times. Some of you have heard the beginning of my story. When I was about 20 weeks pregnant, I went in for a routine ultrasound, and the doctors told me that I had what's called the placenta percreta and percreta, which is where the placenta grows into your uterus and grows in. Am I holding this?
You can never tell.
Okay. Grows into your uterus and can grow into other organs, and they said that that condition is very life-threatening to the mother and the baby. And they said that at any time I could spontaneously hemorrhage, in which case it would probably be fatal for me and fatal for the baby. And they said another complication with the kind of as the first ultrasounds that they took. The ultrasound that they told me that all of this was going bad, so they were showing all the blood vessels were going from my uterus all into my bladder, so they were able to see in this ultrasound, which is why they said that it was already growing into my bladder, because on the ultrasound they saw, and I saw it with the red, it was like red and blue blood vessels, and they were all in there, and then they decided to do an MRI, thinking, well, maybe this will show something, it's more intense, and they said that the MRI showed that it still didn't show kind of a difference. And then when I did an ultrasound, kind of throughout, they kept doing the tests, and every test that I did, it showed a little bit less and a little bit less, and they said that they didn't see any of those blood vessels anymore. And then they did another MRI, and they said, well, we didn't really see anything that was terribly concerning, but we still, because of the tests that they saw in the first place, they weren't convinced that the new tests they were seeing, they said that it still has to be a possibility. This still is a possibility because of the first test that we saw. So even though they were seeing that it was getting better and better, they said that we can't rule anything out. It still has to be what we saw at first. So they were just really astounded. And she, like I said, she said that in her mind, based on what they saw in the first place, there was a 5% chance that it was going to be okay, and that I wouldn't have all my organs removed, and that the baby would be okay. And she told me when they go to, if I was able to get to where they could deliver the baby, they wouldn't be able to separate the placenta from the uterus, so they'd have to take the uterus out and do a hysterectomy. They wouldn't be able to separate the placenta from the bladder. They said it was growing in my bladder, they'd have to take the bladder out. They said it could be into my colon or into any other organs, and they'd have to take all of that out with the C-section. And she not recommended, she advised that if I didn't want to risk dying, that I would terminate the pregnancy. And this was I was 5 months pregnant, and I had just seen the ultrasound and saw the baby and saw him moving around and all of his fingers and toes, and it was just, devastating to say the least. So right away I called Aunt Betty and Anna and my mom for prayer, and I came here that weekend to the healing service, and I came in and I was so just devastated. I've been devastated since I heard the news and was just in despair. And when everyone prayed over me, I hadn't really felt the baby move yet, and when everyone was praying, I was laying there, the baby just started jumping and kicking, and I think that he was just jumping for joy, is what he was doing. And I just felt a sense of warmth, and leaving the service that day, I felt just a sense of peace and hope and happiness. My whole mindset had changed completely. Like, I just knew that it was going to be okay. I was going to be okay, this baby was going to be okay. And then throughout the pregnancy, they did more tests, and they were always telling me it wasn't good. They would never say that it was going to be okay. And even to the very end of my pregnancy, a week before I was supposed to deliver, my doctor was telling me that people die from this surgery. She just kept wanting me to be prepared, because I kept telling her it's going to be okay, and she kept saying, no, it's not, and these are all the reasons why it's not. She was telling me how they had one case of someone in their whole practice that had what I had, and she said the mother and the baby died. She told me that a couple days before the surgery. She told me I could hemorrhage to death in under a minute in the surgery. She was telling me all this stuff because I kept saying, no, it's going to be fine. And I think they were really trying to shake my faith, and I was really just trying to believe. And I've come here a couple times, and every time I came here, it just, everyone here and Barbara and God, they've given me the peace to keep going and to enjoy the pregnancy. And you know, so even leading up to the morning of the delivery, and you know, I'll never forget the night before, I was just praying and praying to give me peace that day to get me through it. And again, I felt that same warmth and feeling that I felt the day of the healing service the night before. And that day, I just still felt, we were in the operating room, and they had 30 people scheduled for the surgery. They had 10 different specialists, and because they really thought, I mean, my doctor really thought I was going to die and this was not going to be good. She told me that there was a 5% chance that the surgery would go well. So they had all these doctors, they kept coming in, these specialists, and they were telling me all these things they were going to do and what they were going to take out. And my husband's crying and crying, and he's like, why are you okay? And I go, it's going to be okay. I really have a feeling it's going to be all right. We don't have to worry. I knew my mom and Anna were right outside my door praying. I knew everyone was praying for me at that time, and I just everyone coming together for us was so touching, and it just meant I was overwhelmed with just everyone and all of their prayers. And I was on the operating room table, and they said, no, it's a boy, and I saw all the specialists were lined up on the side. They were all waiting to come in. They were going to put me out, and then they were going to do all that crazy stuff they told me they were going to do. And then 2 minutes after he was out, they said, the placenta's out. Everything's fine. Crazy. And then I saw all the specialists take their outfits off or their scrub, and they kind of all walked out, and they all waved to me as they were leaving. It's a whole line of them because I didn't need that, because nothing was wrong. I replay that day over and over and over in my head, and he's such a beautiful, sweet, sweet baby. And looking at him and just looking at his face every day and thinking back to when they said that I should terminate the pregnancy, and thinking about how blessed and how just how amazing God has been these past couple months, not only with saving my life and saving the baby's life, but just all the other blessings that have come through this trial. I mean, he's changed my life, he's changed my family's life, he's brought my husband and I closer together through this. He's definitely touched my husband's heart, who really wasn't religious to begin with, and has touched my father's heart, who has been, we couldn't get him to voluntarily to church for anything over these past 35 years that I've been alive, and he has gone to Mass every Sunday since we heard about this, and even after the baby's born, and he's been touched by this, and it just made me and my family, just really focus on or know kind of what's important, and that it's God and it's family and it's our health. And there's so many things that we worry about and are upset about that really don't matter. And it was God's way of touching my heart in a very special way. I've become so much closer with him over this time, and it was by just praying every day. And of course I was praying for this and for this to get better and for the baby and everything, but my relationship with him was so strengthened because in just praying for this, I also was just praying for other things, and just felt the need to pray more so for other people, and just praying to help him make me be who he wants me to be for other people, and what can I do for other people, or keep my eyes open for blessings and what I could do. And I think that is what really brought me the peace and the joy for the 3 months that we were dealing with this. Just because I just feel like the more that you can pray for other people, the more joy and peace that you have in your heart. And while these past 5 months have been crazy, they have been the most peaceful and special of my entire life. And I think God was just saying, He wants us to be in this close relationship with Him, not just when things are going really bad, and not just when things are going really good, but every single day it's important just to be connected to Him and just be praying. And I can't thank Anna, my mom, Aunt Betty, Barbara, all of you enough for all of your prayers, because I know that I would not have gotten through these past 5 months if it wasn't for all of you, and knowing that all of you were praying for me. It's so touching, and I will be forever grateful. So we thank you.
Miracle baby.
Jacob.
He's my miracle. He is.
Amazing.